During 2023, I'm going to be running a huge experiment, and this experiment is going to see if we can punch through the algorithm to increase the level of engagement and reach that the channel has. But it's a way that doesn't just benefit me, I want to give back to you guys as well. And for those who maybe think this could be a scam or, how do you know I'm going to do it? Well, recently I ran a PS5 competition. The winner's PS5 is literally on its way to them right now. I've even showed receipts for that. So it goes without saying that when I say I'm giving something away, that's exactly what's going to happen. So the way this is going to work is really simple. No money, no sign up or anything is required from you. All I need is for you guys to help every single video, or at least as many as possible, to hit 10,000 likes at some point through the year. And every single video that I put out this year, which does hit 10,000 likes, I'm going to pick a random comment under that video and give that person an instant PayPal transfer of £100 in cash. So convert GBP, of course, into your local currency. Now, of course, that will benefit me by hopefully pushing the channel through the algorithm more, and that is what this experiment is all about. But also, it gives us the very literal possibility of having 365 winners throughout the year. And if this does well enough, I may even add another £100 winner for every 10,000 likes a video can get. So if one video gets 20,000, 30,000, as unlikely as that is, I may do another winner from that same video. So this will literally have endless potential for having more and more winners. And in order to pick the winner, I'll pick it completely random from a comment. I'll reply to your comment saying that you are the winner. In order to know that it is me selecting you, there'll be a black bubble around my name. And of course, if you're concerned if it is literally me or if it's just an imposter of some kind, as sometimes happens on YouTube, all you need to do is click on my profile. If it takes you back to my main channel, then it is me. If it takes you to some random empty channel, then you know it's a fake. So as long as it's me replying to you, which is pretty easy to tell, all I will ask you to do is then give me your PayPal email. I don't need anything else. No one else will be able to see your PayPal email because it automatically gets filtered out as spam, so only I can see it. Then I will immediately send you through £100 cash. And it really is as simple as that. But of course, that will be on any given video that hits 10,000 likes, including today's video and yesterday's video as well. If it is a success, we'll have 365 winners this year, and that would be pretty awesome. As we move into 2023, we have, of course, technically wrapped up a year, in a sense, of Gran Turismo 7 content. So I thought, let's take a look back over all of the cars that we had added so far in 2022, and then we can do a similar thing at the end of this year and see what our favourite cars were from 2023 that were brought to GT7. And absolutely tell me yours down below. And for those who can't remember them all, you don't need to go anywhere else, because later on in the video, I'm literally going to tell you the entire list, and then you can check them out for yourself and decide which your 10 would be. I do want to make it clear that I'm not doing this in the best to worst kind of category, I'm just doing it in reverse chronological. So the most recent one to appear to the earliest one to appear out of my 10. And to kick it off, first of all, an honourable mention for me is the Volkswagen IDR. I haven't put it on the list because it's next to useless, but I really do love that it was added. I love that it was a total surprise. It's an incredible car, just a shame that we can't use it that much. So to get into the actual list, first off for me is the C8 Corvette. The Corvette is, for full exposure, not one of my favourite cars, but I put it on the list because of its significance. Yes, it's fast, yes, it's very good, but I'm really glad that it was added because so many people were clamouring for this car. So many people were vocal about it. It was this and the Lexus LFA in terms of the most comments that I would see from people asking for it to be added, and regardless of why Pilifing did it, in response to that, or maybe they were going to do it anyway, I think that's probably more likely. Whatever the reason, I think it's great that we now have it. It's kind of surprising when Gran Turismo has a car that's only a couple of years old, so that was a pretty cool new addition. Speaking of that update though, the next one for me is also from the same update, and this one is much more personal for me. The new king of speed, or certainly one of them, of course the Bugatti Chiron had to be on my list. Many people will unfortunately write the car off, thinking it's just a Veyron clone. It really isn't. It's so different to the Veyron, handles much more like a Lambo, it's much more aggressive, tremendous power, around 1800 horses, ridiculous performance. Of course, I've reviewed all of these cars on the channel anyway, but also I did a speed tune for it. It can hold 300 miles an hour in the curve on Route X. It's just a tremendous hypercar, one which I was probably the most excited about out of all of the leaked vehicles, and it lived up to what I wanted. I wasn't expecting it to beat everything, but it was certainly better than even I thought it was going to be. The next one for me though, keeping it on brand in that same update, is one which I think will be on many of your lists, and I'm actually really happy to see how much people love it because it mirrors how surprised I was, and how pleasantly surprised I was, by the real world slightly lower counterpart, and that is the Alfa Giulia. The GTA M in the game, for me in real life it was driving the Quadrifoglio. It blew my mind by how good it was. In the game I think the GTA M really blew many people's minds in terms of how good that was as well. There's one other vehicle which I think is up there with this one in terms of really surprising me that I'm going to get to in a second. But yeah, this is a fantastic addition. Not the most obvious choice, so I'm glad it got Polyphony's love, and it's really great to see how many people are really loving this car. The next one on the list actually jumps to a previous update though. Again, like the C8 Corvette, I'm adding this one because of its community significance. Of course I love the car, but more so like the C8, it's a car that people have wanted for so long, justifiably, especially since Gran Turismo has the E30 M3, and in the past we had the Mercedes 190 Evo, and according to that leaked list we might even have it again sometime soon. The Sierra, of course the Ford Sierra RS500, this is a great addition to the game. To be honest, I'm surprised we didn't already have it in a previous game. I could have easily seen this popping up in Gran Turismo 4 or 6, it just has that kind of vibe. But yeah, it's fantastic to see it join, and I know that many of you like the car quite a bit. The next one on the list though is also from that same update, and this is the car that I was talking about in terms of mirroring how shocked people were, in a good way, by how much they enjoyed it, and that was, of course, the BMW M2 Competition. So far, this is, out of my episodes of Game vs Real, comparing Gran Turismo to real life, this is the car which they've done the best with. It is the most accurate to what I've driven in real life versus the car in the game. The M2 Competition is spot on in terms of how it feels. It's great to work with, super fun, and it's nice to see how many people were happy to finally see it in, but also how many people didn't know what to expect, maybe just thought it would be a smaller version of an M4, which on the surface it could seem to be, but it's so much more than that. So yeah, I think again, like the Alfa Giulia, I will expect this to be on many of your top 10 lists. The next one for me might be more controversial, and I know many people don't like the pricing on this one. This one again has more of a representative place for me. It's not a car that I use that much, but it's fantastic for liveries and hugely significant when it comes to licensing, because it's not a kind of car that Gran Turismo gets that often, and when they do, they really stand out. I am of course referring to a Formula 1 car, the McLaren MP4-4. Of course, this is another legendary name in the world of Formula 1, especially when it comes to Senna. They do have a love relationship with Senna. They had his Lotus, of course, in GT6. That kind of lives on in different forms. We had Hamilton's Mercedes in the last game. Now we have Senna again with this one. So like I said, it's not so much that I adore the car. It's more that I think whenever we have a Formula car, even though I'm not a Formula 1 fan, that's my girlfriend's job, I do love it when we have them added to the game because it doesn't happen that much. It's like a shooting star in Gran Turismo. Next up though, like the Chiron, this is another car for me that is much more personal. I really like it. It had some teething problems in terms of being a bit glitched, but those have since been sorted. I did a pretty well received, very well received in fact, tune setup for special projects using this car as a base. It was a natural progression to add to the game. I am of course referring to the Porsche 918 Spider. What a machine. It's become over the years my favourite out of the three kings of Ferrari, McLaren and Porsche, and yeah, it's a tremendous machine. Not the cheapest thing around, not the most expensive thing, not the fastest, not the slowest, just really good all round, and even though it demands respect, unlike a lot of older supercars, it actually rewards your respect by being tremendously good, like as quick as some race cars in fact. So yeah, for me, up there with the Chiron in terms of definitely being one of my absolute standouts. The next two on the list though for me are a case of incredible nostalgia, just plain and simple. The first one being, of course, the Nissan Skyline Super Silhouette Formula. This is one of those cars that doesn't just appeal to the Gran Turismo fans who have been around for maybe the past decade. This is OG stuff. This is Gran Turismo 2 kind of nostalgia, and even though it's kind of died down, in at least from what I've seen in terms of people talking about this car or using it as much, It is such a cool choice of car to bring back, and to me it's up there with stuff like the Pennzoil, the Castrol Supra, in terms of really hitting those nostalgic member berries, but in a good way. It doesn't feel like it's milking the nostalgia just for the sake of, chatter. It legitimately is this really badass car that's so cool to see return, especially when the last time we saw it wasn't even with Gran Turismo 4 graphics, it was literally PlayStation 1 graphics, where it was basically 6 pixels, 4 of which were red and 2 were black. So to see it in full HD glory is awesome. Speaking of red though, speaking of nostalgia, you already know this had to be on the list, and again, like the Beamer, like the Alpha, I think it will be on many of your lists. I mean, of course, the Suzuki Ecudo. Naturally, it has to be on the list. Massively important to the history of Gran Turismo. Probably the single most recognisable car from Gran Turismo's history, I would say, because even people who don't like Gran Turismo know the big, red, crazy Suzuki, because it's just that totally OP, ridiculous car. Especially in the older games that could do wheelies, it could fly, it could just bounce off the walls and win everything. It's a meme of a car, but justifiably so, because it was that crazy in real life. And yeah, having it back for the first time ever with a detailed interior, it's no way near as OP as it used to be, because the game is more realistic. But yeah, of course it had to make the list, and like I said, I'm sure it will for many of you as well. And actually rounding it off in 10th place, not really, but I'm covering it 10th, is actually a car that you might be surprised that I'm including. This one I actually don't see making many people's lists, because once again it has fallen to the wayside from what I've seen for many players, but I again love what this car represents by adding it for the future of the series. Now this could end up being like a Tickford Falcon V8 supercar situation, wherein we get one and never see another one, but I'm hoping this is a mark of things to come, because I'm talking about the Toyota GR10 Le Mans hypercar. This is legitimately the next phase of Le Mans, and I've gone in a relatively short couple of years from hating the idea of Le Mans hypercars to now I've really come around to the idea. Because of course many of us are resistant to change anyway if it's something we loved, and of course I love Le Mans, it's my favourite motorsport event, Group C, LMP 900, LMP 1, and I've really come around on the idea, and even though the Toyota is probably the least interesting hypercar to me out of the bunch, I still love that it is in the game, and even though it's not the most useful or the fastest thing around, that's expected, because they are designed to be a more affordable entry into Le Mans, that was one of the biggest stipulations, but also moving forward, this opens the door to having cars which I'm much more excited for, like your Ferrari 499p, the Cadillac, the Peugeot 9X8. I'm really looking forward to seeing what happens next in the future of the series with those cars. So for me that rounds out my pick of the 10, plus the honourable mention, and before we end the video, for those who have forgotten, I do want to run through all of the cars, so you don't have to jump around other videos or look at any kind of list, and you can just tell me your 10. So, we have the C8 Corvette, the Bugatti Chiron, the Alfa Giulia, the Celica Rally Car, the Ferrari Vision GT, the Sierra RS500, the BMW M2, the Nissan Silvia, the slightly newer Silvia in other words, the Maserati Mirac, the MX-5 kind of cup car thing that we had, the GTR Group 3, the GT3 GTR in other words, the classic Skyline KP GC 110, we had the Volkswagen IDR of course, the older Silvia of the two, the Porsche Vision GT Spider, the Pontiac GTO Judge, the McLaren MP4, the road-going Porsche Cayman GT4, the Porsche 918, the Nissan Skyline Super Silhouette, the Maserati A6 GCS, the Suzuki Ecudo, the Suzuki Group 3 version of the Vision GT car, the race car, the Ford Roadster, the RS Camaro, the SEMA wide-body show car, the Toyota GR10 hypercar, the road-going version of the Suzuki Vision GT, road-going in a general sense, and to round us off, the car which probably shouldn't really be here, but I'm going to include it anyway, the Dior Mangusta, because as dumb as that is, it kind of is a car that was an addition, technically. So I'm not counting the Red Bulls with special liveries, I probably shouldn't count the Di Tommaso either, but I am including it as one of the 28th, or one of the 28 as kind of a joke. And yeah, that's it for the list overall. Like I said though, if you think I've missed a car that should have been on the list, then absolutely drop it down below. Give me your top 10 favourites, most significant, most useful, whatever you want to categorise the list as. But aside from that, I will see you next time. And for now, as always, thanks for watching.